Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's album review time. As you see in the title, we are talking about Jinjer's new album, Wallflowers. Jinjer, who I hope should need no introduction. If you listen to metal, no matter your taste, you'll have heard about this band. You might have checked out a track or two, trying to decide if they are, in your opinion, metal's next hottest thing. I'm not a big fan of that sort of terminology. We've thrown that around at a few bands over the last decade, and it's something often bands can't quite live up to, but it's also something I find that's coined by like the mainstream metal press, where they're like, okay, we're gonna grab hold of this band, we're gonna run with them until they eventually trip and fall. I mean, it harks back even further. A good example of that from like when I was younger is Trivium. You know, look how they were touted, and then eventually, obviously, couldn't quite live up to that. Although Trivium are doing stunning work these days. Of course, this isn't about Trivium, it's about Jinjer, who are, let's be honest, rock and metal's hottest new thing. Relentlessly hard-working, non-stop touring, critically acclaimed chart-topping releases. They've had over 250 million cross-stream views across several different platforms. They are what they are. Hot, exciting, interesting. The band has also become synonymous with doing things in their own way. They break every rule in the heavy metal handbook to a degree. And I think, personally, this is probably most evident on this new album. Their highly anticipated fourth studio release, following on from Macro, which obviously was huge for this band. It's the one that really kind of pushed them into the mainstream eyes. It is out on August 27th, 2021 by Napalm Records, so not too long to wait as time recording. I'm literally talking about a day. Now, this new album, it not only presents a methodical and premeditated next step in the band's already very imposing career, but moreover it mirrors the personal adversities they faced due to the worldwide events over the last year. Jinjer aren't alone. I mean, they were supposed to be at Bloodstock where we were and had to pull out twice in the very end, partially because of what's been going on in the world. Everybody has suffered in some way or another. We can just hope you're doing well out there. But let's be honest, is there a more anticipated album this year? Even non-Jinjer fans at this point are aware of just how momentous this album is going to be. The early single releases have done very little to dampen expectations, and finally we are here. Jinjer are back, and back to not just really solidify their place as one of the most exciting modern metal bands, but to prove they belong at the very, very top. Now, me personally, I've not always been on board the Jinjer train. I really think they're very good at what they do, and I really like it. But when people are saying to me, oh my god, this is the next best thing, I'm like, oh yeah, they're awesome. Why are they the next best thing? Coming off the back of this album, I understand it a bit more. It's an album that should push the band upwards. That much is clear after a first listen. However, multiple listens reveal so much more, and a genuine realization that this band's development is truly staggering. This is the Jinjer we all know and love, but there's something more here. Jinjer are evolving. Melody is playing a much more key part. You know, obviously it was always there and it was always important to their sound, but here I think it's much more key, while they still sound super, super aggressive. At times, even more than usual, there's a lot of fire in their bellies on this album. And a great example of this combination, the melody and the ferocity, is the blistering Vortex. But the likes of Call Me a Symbol, Copycat and Mediator are also fantastic examples. The band's penchant for groove, progressive and experimental elements, it's still here as well, and as focused as ever too. Every track, every blast beat, every wild shift in tone or chill burst goes a long way to making Wallflowers eclectic and interesting. It's always fascinating to hear Jinjer push themselves, and the likes of Pearls and Swine and Wallflower has them reach moody and mind-altering mellow levels not quite heard that often. The combination and the mix of variety in these tracks, it's not wild. It's not like you're going from one to the other and going, oh my god, that doesn't sound like the same band. But there's a hell of a lot going on here. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Wallflowers is that it's got more than enough to not only sound like long-term fans in the fits of joy, but also I think to win over new fans. It's one of those, as I said at the start, where if you've been wondering what all the fuss was about, when you listen to this album, you're going to have that, oh, moment. And that's awesome. This is the moment that Jinjer rise up and I think prove any doubters wrong. It's their fourth album after all. It's kind of time. They're a band based off this album that I can see, maybe not headlining like festivals and stuff like that, but being shot up that card immediately based off this, what will be no doubt an incredibly successful album. It hits all the notes you want it to. It is very much a Jinjer album, but it's also incredibly challenging. There are times during it, after 3 or 4 listens, where I was re-listening to a song and I was thinking, do I get this? Do I get this? And eventually, like a light bulb going off in your head, you will. Maybe if you're a super fan of theirs, you'll get it quicker than I did. But, you know, I wanted to spend the time with them. I think that's what's different with this album and say perhaps to earlier releases, where I really wanted to give it more listens, where, you know, rather than going 1 or 2 and going, okay, I don't really get it. It's great, it's great heavy music, there's some lovely melody, love the progressive elements, those effects are quite clever. This time I'm like, okay, I really like that, but I know I missed stuff in it. I know I missed parts that I want to hear again, and would keep doing that over and over again. By the end, completely and utterly won over. Wallflowers is out on August 27th, 2021 via Nuclear Blast. You must make sure you check it out. Even if you're not a fan, check it out and see if your opinion is changed. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?